Join us today on the Final Hour podcast as we discuss the Satanic Temple hosting the largest satanic gathering in history.
We interrupt your program to issue a severe warning for an impending emergency making its way to your area. We urge you to be watchmen of the times and to be prepared with the essential knowledge and supplies for the wake of the final hour.
Welcome to the Final Hour podcast, coming to you from the original Living Word Christian Center out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jim Hammond.
I'm Lonaiah Farrell.
I'm John Gabb.
Welcome back, John.
Thanks.
So happy you're here.
I am so glad to be here and breathing.
You look much better than last week.
Thank you. Yeah, it was rough.
Last week he stuck his head in the office.
And
just said, and we were like, wow.
Yeah, I was like, maybe
you guys don't want me on the show.
And also our producer, JD. The JD.
It's good to see you, Jer.
They are sporting their Final Hour podcast merchandise.
The merch is awesome.
It is.
By the way, I gave some merch away for Christmas, a couple of presents. I like it.
You had
I
a
like
better
it a lot.
So
experience.
did I.
Giving it away? Same. I gave some away too.
Yeah.
I bought it for my parents, even though they're non-listeners.
I bought it for my parents too. And Jennifer, thank you for listening. I have a family member.
You're
Jennifer.
a real gem, Jennifer.
We now have three family members between the three of us.
Killing it.
I have one.
Jeremiah.
Michael Minton.
Yeah, Jimmy Gap.
Jimmy Gap.
Jennifer Mercero.
Thank you.
Nice. Jeremiah, do you have any listeners in your family?
His mom listens.
Yes.
Yes.
And
So
Tammy
And
Jo
she writes
is by far the best.
Tammy
knitted,
Jo, what a great name.
She crocheted a blanket for Liam.
Cute.
And it is
Liam's John's baby.
amazing. It is an amazing blanket. Like, her craftsmanship is so good.
Superb.
And it has nothing to do with this podcast, but I was just so, like, my wife was like, I wish mine looked like that. Yeah.
Maybe she can get lessons from
I know,
Tammy
maybe.
Jo.
Maybe.
we have merchandise. The merchandise will be back up. That whole site will be back up within a week is our goal here. And apologize for being down. We are probably 3 weeks from getting into our new podcast taping room.
It's going to look so good.
The goal is to do it by the 50th episode. And I just really want to thank all our viewers and listeners and subscribers on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble. It's taken a while for Rumble to get going. I think last time I checked, we had like 4 views an episode. But
I was on, while I wasn't here during the podcast filming last week, I was watching on Rumble.
Yeah.
So I was like,
you're
hey,
one of
check
them.
it out. Yeah.
You're one of them.
All right.
And
No, I think you can watch, but I think it's the likes.
Yeah, it's the likes.
oh, is that what that
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, it's
So
just
we
the
don't
likes.
know. And we want to, I get this question all the time.
Yeah.
First of all, whatever YouTube, we had a Balenciaga run at 1,000 views, whatever sometimes they end the week after a week at 500. You look at them 3 weeks later, they're up to 800. But if you look at the YouTube, the Spotify, and the Apple Podcast, see, you guys are not privy to the Spotify and Apple Podcast numbers, but all of those added up, okay, comes to about 2,000 listens and views per week. That's
awesome.
about what we're running.
That's incredible.
And so we just
Thank you,
appreciate
Lord.
all of you.
That is
And
awesome.
listeners.
Please,
Subscribers, viewers.
it takes to get into all that stuff. It takes time.
Yeah.
You don't just punch it up. And we also want to thank everyone. We're going to come with a list of countries around the world, because it is many countries that are listening or watching or viewing, and want to thank you so much.
And if you want to help the podcast, when you're watching or you're listening, click that like button Obviously, you're probably subscribed. If you're just watching and you're not subscribed, click that subscribe button. And if you click that bell, that'll also let you know whenever whenever we upload something. So those three things you can do. You can share it. You can click like and subscribe. And well, I guess that's four things. And click the bell so you get the alerts.
Today we have, okay, so sorry that I didn't come in prepared for this, but today's date, is today the 12th?
It is.
Today is Thursday, January 12th, right? I feel bad that I have to figure this out.
Thursday,
so
12th.
When this airs, it will be Tuesday, 12:01 a.m. in the morning on January 17th.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
You did us right here on the
I think
calendar.
so.
17th.
Okay. Well,
What?
thank you, Lonaiah.
You're welcome.
And so,
Jim's very precise, so we need to make sure he has the exact dates and times, or it's confusing.
well, if I give the wrong date, yes, that is confusing.
That's why I went to
If
12:01.
if you have your computer set to Central Time, even though you're in Mountain Standard Time, then you might be able to get the podcast at 11:01.
Actually, we were corrected
John,
on that.
actually, you're wrong.
It doesn't matter.
No, that's why if your computer is set
Oh, I see.
to
Oh, I see.
Central Time,
John. Okay.
you got to game the system.
Listen,
Yes, John.
the Satanic Temple, the Satan worshipers, are dedicating an upcoming event sarcastically to the Democratic Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. Go Michelle Wu.
Yeah, she has been
Okay,
fighting
because
with
she
them for
stood
a
up
year.
to him. After the city kept them from delivering an invocation before the city council meeting. She said no.
Good for her.
They are dedicating the largest satanic gathering in history to Boston Mayor, and they will wear masks. It's called SatanCon, C-O-N, 2023. They will require surgical masks and proof of COVID-19 vaccination.
Shocker.
Oh, good.
Excuse me.
So if you don't have your vax, you're
Well,
not invited to the party.
Yeah, you can't go to SatanCon if you're not what is it, socially distanced or whatever.
It just interesting.
What a joke.
And I think they're doing this if I read right, in Michigan too, or there's another state where they're sarcastically going against the governor because they're not allowing them to pray
Yeah.
in the openings of their meetings.
Well, it's crazy to see. I mean, you think 100 years ago you wouldn't see satanic people and demonstrations out in public because
Being so open.
that you would not see it. People would oppose it.
Yeah, they got a boldness.
Right.
Well, because it's expanding, and SatanCon 2023 is going to take place in downtown Boston, April 28th through the 30th. And, the theme of the gathering in celebration of satanic, it's their 10-year anniversary is Hexennacht in Boston, German for Witches' Night, which marks the ancient pagan holiday on May Eve. They include discussion panels, entertainment, satanic rituals,
Wow.
a satanic wedding, a satanic marketplace.
I mean, what would I'm just thinking out loud here, but how cool would it be if there were a ton of Christians that show up and bring the love of Jesus to open up their eyes? You know, what an opportunity for a bunch of people to be in public and people who love Jesus come out and bring the love of Jesus with them and let those blinders be taken off of these people.
Yeah.
Or even just show up and just pray in tongues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just on the outskirts.
Yeah.
The Satanic Temple said it is dedicating the event to the Boston mayor, Wu, W-U, for her unconstitutional efforts to keep the Satanic Temple out of Boston's public spaces.
Good job.
So they filed a lawsuit against the city because they had made multiple requests to deliver a satanic invocation in the city council meeting. They also refiled a request to raise a flag at Boston City Hall. to commemorate Satan Appreciation Week.
Wow. That's just crazy.
But the city turned around and announced in October 2021 that it was no longer accepting applications to raise flags at all. And so
that's a good answer.
That's a good answer for sure.
yes, I'm liking this lady.
Yeah.
And in a similar move, the Satanic Temple dedicated its 2022 conference in Scottsdale, Arizona,
Okay.
to a former Republican Mayor, Jim Lane, and former Republican Councilor Suzanne Clapp, who also denied a request to invoke Satan at a city council meeting. So they're doing this out of sarcasm.
Cheeky,
Yes.
tongue in cheek, shot in the eye for people who said
but
no.
good for them to stand up against
Absolutely.
that. That's
Let them have their tantrum.
right.
And
They got denied.
And remember, they drew national attention in Virginia when the organization applied to establish an after-school Satan club for kids at B.M. Williams Primary School. And so, I was walking my dog.
Rolo.
Let's see. It was in the fall. It was on a Saturday morning. I do remember that, and fairly early. And this guy walked by me, and I absolutely knew what he was, and he threw a curse at me. I know he did, and I just felt so strong. I felt it hit me from the back, and the Holy Spirit told me exactly what he was. And walking by, and you can think this is weird, but I knew it, and so I immediately, I basically caused it to desist.
Yeah.
And I threw it right back his way. But this is a very common thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And they can say that their mission has nothing to do with Satan. It has everything to do with Satan.
Everything.
What was you were
Yeah,
just
I was
telling me?
just going to pull it up. So I was just flipping through Instagram last night. Just obviously we all do that when we're bored and need something to do.
I never do.
Okay, John. I get TikToks from John on the daily. But there's this.
So John's being spied on by the Chinese.
Yes,
okay.
he is. But there's this artist. She, this lady that I
Reverse it.
follow. There's this lady. Her name is Florence, and she on her videos, in her concerts, she does blood sacrifices, and she talks to the people that are at her shows about Satan worship and what it means and how they try to raise people in the moonlight from the dead. So she's talking to all of her fans about this. She has she talks about the blood sacrifices that they do, the animals that they offer to the devil, all these things. Mm-hmm. And basically this lady's saying it is out there in Hollywood. It is out there at concerts. Rewind to Travis Scott, I think it was 2 years ago, when that whole weird thing happened and all those people died. They're watch what was happening before that. It was definitely a satanic ritual. This is what this lady's saying.
Travis Scott was doing a satanic ritual?
Yeah, during it, he comes, he gets tranced by something.
What about the thing with Beyonce and Jay-Z? They're Satanists?
Yeah,
Are they
well,
really
basically-
Satanists?
By what people say, yes, because they're saying what these people do is.
Well, what do they have? How do we know Beyonce? What are they
this lady
doing?
says many people know Hollywood and celebrities display signs of Satanism are symbols of the Illuminati once they've sold their souls and signed a contract. We see this with Madonna, Lady Gaga, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and so on. So during Jay-Z and Beyonce's music videos, you see this lady in white, and she has to be above them, and they have this triangle with the eye on there.
The all-seeing eye.
Yes.
Yep.
And they have to worship this lady. But basically, when you're a Satanist and you dedicate everything to that, you have to make it prominent that that's what you're following.
Yep.
So those things that nobody catches, at first I was that's so weird that lady's they're worshiping this lady, but she is part of the Satanic Temple if you go and look into her. So they're saying it's right there in your face.
Yep.
Wow. So this is prevalent and but you have authority,
yes,
and you have to be aware, and you have to watch. And on some good news though, Congress has voted to defund the 87,000 IRS agents.
Yay!
Yay, Congress! Way to go,
Congress!
And on more good news, every Democrat voted no.
Yeah, shocker. They voted no. To
defund.
Yes, they wanted to keep them.
All right. They shut that down. Bill Gates pushes for government's need for global surveillance team to strengthen the World Health Organization, the Chinese founded and run World Health Organization, fight misinformation, and prepare for the next pandemic, because Bill knows there's another one coming.
Knows.
And
He's just building up the propaganda machine.
He is.
interesting title on NBC News. You will get chipped eventually, right?
Don't try to avoid it. We will all have a chip.
Yes, is what they're saying.
And remember, they're calling it chips and salsa. That was like their nice way of making it, like sound engaging to everybody. It's a little chips and salsa party.
I mean, I do like salsa.
Don't get the chip, John.
And I won't get corn chips. Yes. But.
Some of you will understand this more than me, but scientists want to use people as antennas to power 6G.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because your body is pretty great at harvesting wasted energy.
Yep.
The future of 6G telecommunications could come from visible light communications. Researcher at University of Massachusetts Amherst believe using humans as part of the antenna system offers the most efficient way to harvest waste energy. And so in the process, humans could wear coiled copper.
Yeah.
Wow.
Humans have a lot of energy in them, no matter what. Just the bioelectricity that courses through a human's body. Did you guys ever, as a kid, notice it had to be when you were a kid because you needed the antenna TV?
Oh yeah.
You could stand in certain areas of the living room and it would affect your TV and your reception. It's because your body has so much, it has a magnetic field. And so you can definitely alter what's going on. And I buy that is a very possible thing in the future.
And so this next one,
we're all just science experiments at this point, I think.
Well, I mean,
they want us to be.
At least biology experience. Yeah, that's for sure.
We feel like we need to make you aware of this guy. I think we did report on it right when it happened. We did talk about it when it happened. But because maybe some people will feel led to help this guy out. His name is Mark Houck, Houck.
Yeah.
And his lawyers, they're requesting help. On February 23rd, 25 FBI agents wearing tactical gear said they were going to break down his door if he didn't let them in. He's got 7 children.
He was at home with his wife and kids.
And they pointed guns at him, hauled him into jail while his wife and kids were there. And now he's facing multiple criminal charges and 11 years in federal prison due to an incident involving an aggressively abusive Planned Parenthood person, harasser. And so Mark, he's a pro-life, dedicated to pro-life author, speaker, but he goes to these, the sidewalk counselors. He drives 2 hours every week.
Yep.
Stand outside the abortion clinics for hours at a time, praying the rosary and offering support to women who are so desperate that they think they have no other alternative but to abort their babies. And he was bringing his 12-year-old son. And a Planned Parenthood, what they're calling is an escort, got in his young son's face, ridiculing him, bullying him in aggressive ways. He defended his son. You said by stepping in between. Mm-hmm. He stepped in between the guy and his son. And after repeatedly asking the guy to stop, he was trying to protect his son. The escort wanted Mark prosecuted.
I honestly think that when he stepped, I feel like he stepped onto their property. I don't even think it was that aggressive. I think it was just he was technically on their sidewalk at that time.
So he wanted him prosecuted for assault and battery, and despite Mark acting in self-defense because of his son, the state courts in Philly threw it out. It was like, that's a joke, right? But Joe Biden's Department of Justice has charged, our president's Department of Justice got involved, charged Mark with violating the Federal FACE Act. And now this guy is facing 11 years in federal prison for advocating for the life and for defending his family. He's got attorneys that are pulling out all the stops. His trial begins January 24th.
It's coming up.
it was so minor that the Philly authorities refused to press charges. So the escort, because the escort filed charges himself. All right.
Of course.
And so if, the people defending Mark that have taken up his cause is this attorney, well-known attorney named Tom Brencha, the president and chief counsel of the Thomas More Society. All right. They have defended all kinds of pro-life people for many, many years. They're professionals. All right. But they're asking for donors. Okay. Because the reality is, this are their words, his attorney's words. You can't be one personally defending Mark in the courtroom. By donating, you can help us vindicate this brave father and pro-life hero who is being ground through the system in an unjust prosecution. Yeah. And so they're expecting Mark's defense to fight the government, right? The DOJ, who has all the resources they need, may cost as much as hundreds of thousands of dollars because the Department of Justice is out for blood and targeting Mark. So
is it just obviously to make him an example of what will happen if you oppose the abortion, because Biden, or went through the Supreme Court and all that happened, and it kind of went to each state, and so Biden's trying to protect that because he thinks whatever.
And hopefully, the new Congress has pledged to investigate the DOJ and the FBI for things like this. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, Mark gets some help.
And I will say one thing,
avenue as well.
Because we did report the abortion. I know there's so if you were getting an abortion and your baby, the baby that was born had problems from the abortion, they're trying to get everybody to vote not to help that child medically. Well, all the Republicans voted that they don't agree with that and that they want medical attention done. Yeah. All the Democrats voted no, but the vote was 220 to 210. Yeah. So it came into law that you have to
assist.
Yes. A child who was tried to be aborted but has medical conditions. So it can't die on the table anymore.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you, America, for voting for voting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's big. That's big. But getting into our teaching part, there's the most important books in Revelation are chapters 2 and 3, because Jesus is writing letters to these churches that were present at that time, located in Western Turkey, the Roman province called Asia in Western Turkey. But many, many commentators, many prophecy experts are absolutely sure, and if you look at these letters, that he's talking to the end time church, because in the very next chapter, in Revelation 4:1, the church is what many commentators believe that is the rapture, when John is called up to heaven by a trumpet, and he's representing the church, and you never hear about the church again. Okay, all through the tribulation. Tribulation runs Revelation 6 through 19. You never hear about the church one time. And so these are kind of the last instructions, Revelation 2 and 3. If you're going to know books in the in Revelation, these are the two most important. And I think this kind of says what, in a sense, you're looking at this guy. I know he's Catholic, but it doesn't matter. He's obviously, he's got a relationship with God. He's trying to make a difference outside these clinics that are murdering children. Right. And you see this, that's persecution.
Yes.
Right. And Pergamos can also be pronounced Pergamum, okay? Yep. Depends on the translation in the Bible. Pergamos, this was Jesus writing a letter to a church. And it was a city that was intentionally built to look like Athens, all right, which was a very sophisticated city. And Pergamos was considered or viewed as the epicenter of idolatry through the first century. This is Jesus writing to this church, and this is where this church was located, all right, in the city of Pergamos. And probably the most demonic thing in the city was a huge altar to Zeus, the god Zeus, which was sitting on an 800-foot high cliff. The altar itself on the cliff, the altar itself sitting on that 800-foot cliff was 50 feet tall. It was a very spiritually dark place. So just to sum it up, the church at Pergamos is courting the friendship of the world. And really the church is condoning all kinds of things that they should not be. But they're doing it because there's pressure. They're being persecuted. They're being killed in many instances. And this is what is going on with Pergamos. Pergamos was a key city because it was the headquarters for a guy called the Pre-Council of Rome. This was the ruler, the Roman ruler in all these cities in this province of Asia.
Yeah.
He was like the Roman president of this area, of the Roman province of Asia. He actually sat on a throne like a king, and he really ruled what went on in all these cities from this province. And he really only reported to the emperor of Rome. And so these Christians were struggling. They were being persecuted to the point where they were hiding to do their services. All their services were underground. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really look at today. Would people even go to church if they had to hide?
No,
in this day and age?
I was listening to KTS on my way in this morning, and they're explaining how since the pandemic, 1/3 of Christians, like 1/3 less Christians, go in person to church.
I know. Yeah.
1/3.
1/3. And they're like, what can we do to get people back in church? Like, going to church is so important to your spiritual walk.
Something's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we can't even get people to go to church because you can watch it. I mean, no, there's nothing wrong with it. I watch it on my phone.
They'll be there. Like, I remember after 9/11, the churches were packed.
It was packed. You're right.
And it took it didn't last very long.
Right.
But I'm just saying, you watch.
Yep.
Okay. And Revelation 2:13, this is Jesus' words to this church. I know thy works and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, thou holdest fast to my name and hast not denied my faith, even in those days where Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. And so this church is located at the time in the heart of Satan's headquarters.
Wow.
Right? Satan has a seat. Satan has a spiritual throne.
Yeah.
And Satan and his demons are limited to locality. His demons have different territory. You can find that for sure in Daniel 10. You can see that in that chapter. But look at when God asked Satan, where have you been? Walking to and fro, right? From the earth, right? You thought that
just like what a sarcastic comment.
Yeah.
Like God doesn't know
where have you been?
Where you've been?
Walking to and fro.
Yeah, this is in Job.
I'm going to say that next time.
Walking to and fro.
One of your kids.
He
where have you been?
He's not like God.
I've
okay.
tracked you on Snapchat.
He's not like God. And there's a lot of interesting history here, what we could go into, just to give you a little bit with Pergamos. Nimrod was the first world dictator. He founded Babel, which eventually turned into Babylon.
Right.
History will tell you that when Cyrus the Great, that's the Persians, conquered Babylon, all the Babylonian satanic guys, the paganist satanic priests, magicians, they fled Babylon with all their money and all their satanic artifacts. And you know where they went? They went to Pergamos. Okay? That's where they went. They went straight from Babylon to Pergamos. So we can kind of see why this seat is the seat of Satan. And so over the centuries, you can see the headquarters of idolatry and occultic type worship go from Babylon to Pergamos, and then from Pergamos to Rome itself over these centuries. And it's actually saying that Satan has a throne. That Greek word means throne. And we have Jesus personally seeing and watching this church, just like he's doing to your church. The Greek context here is almost like an investigation of the church. And what's interesting here is Jesus indicating by saying Satan has a throne, that in essence, Satan is the master of the city. And what Jesus is doing is calling on the church to take him out as that master. Okay? And it's no different than what we're supposed to be doing today. I mean, he's telling them they're holding fast and they haven't denied their faith. That means they had a chance.
Yeah.
They've had a chance to quit. They had a chance to deny their faith because he credited them.
Yeah.
With not... Okay, there is a martyr by the name... You had to be there. There's a martyr by the name of Antipas, okay? And he was probably exercising his authority on a daily basis. All right? This guy, he was a martyr. And Jesus refers to him. So we know he was a real guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably casting out demons of people successfully. So someone goes to the Roman proconsul. They bring Antipas in for a trial. And this is the way it usually went. The Roman governor would tell him that he had to repent for casting out demons, denounce Christianity, and show proof that he had converted to the pagan religion.
Wow.
This was a regular thing. They had to denounce Christianity. It would be so easy, and they could just walk away, denounce all the things they had done as Christians, and convert to paganism. And legend says, historical writings say, in the middle of Pergamos, there was a giant brazen bull made out of metal.
Oh, yeah.
And hollow on the inside. And this thing had pipes that were built into the head of the bull.
Yep.
And so that it sounded as if the bull was making sounds. And they put Antipas in through the side door of the bull. He was hollow. All right.
Yep.
Big, huge bull.
Yep.
All right. And they would light, this is what they did on a regular basis. They lit a fire under the bull. And so you've got Antipas in the bull. And so the metal the bowl would start to heat up, right? This fire would get hotter and hotter and hotter. And that metal would heat up all the way around. And can you imagine climbing around in there?
You couldn't get a break.
As the bottom heats up, you're gonna have your hands and feet at one point are going to be on the sides.
Right.
But it's all going to get hot.
They're going to be trying to hang from the top.
It'll all be hot.
Hot to the touch, hot and
Scalding.
Scalding. And this is how they killed people.
Yep.
And so this is not a short death.
No.
I mean, you're
excruciating.
So they put him in the bowl, they shut the door, and through the pipes in the bowl, you can hear the screams of the martyrs. So it seemed like the bull was a living thing.
That's disgusting.
And this would
How
draw
evil.
a crowd. This shows you how gone this population was. And this is how gone the population is going to be during the tribulation.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you can see signs of it in
Yes,
certain places.
it would literally fry them over time now. You have to walk through this.
Yeah.
You'd be flipping yourself from your back to your front to your side.
Right.
Would you not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think
of that,
makes my
what
heart beat
torture.
fast.
Yeah.
It's torture and would literally fry them to death. And these people were so evil that when the Christian had died, they would pull the bones of the martyr out of the bowl, polish them up, and wear them as jewelry.
You don't think anything like that happens today? If it was happening then,
It does happen
I'm
today.
Sure.
It does happen
happens
today. And
today.
we had a lady write in, remember, said that we don't talk enough about Christian persecution.
Oh, yes.
There is
Yes.
Christian persecution.
Yeah.
All over the world.
All over the
Even in the 90s, there was Christian persecution. I was reading in some books of some wild stuff going on in Africa.
Right.
Millions of Christians died.
Absolutely.
Millions.
Didn't actually DC Talk write a book called Jesus Freak that actually talked about it?
Yes.
Like, was a different story of
They had
Christians
multiple
being
martyrs.
persecuted. There were
Yeah.
some amazing things in that book.
Yep.
I mean, DC Talk is now split, and they've all gone their interesting ways.
Yeah.
But that
No,
book was. I remember reading some and just bawling and being like, "Wow, I take my Christianity for granted."
Well, what happened to DC Talk? What do you mean interesting ways?
Well, one of the guys is totally off his rocker, and isn't he involved in like?
I don't know what he's gone to, but yeah, he definitely has.
He's walked away from the Lord.
Has he?
Heavy.
Yep. And the other two
We
are
still have
still
Toby
in
Mac
like
rocking
ministry.
Toby Mac's still going?
Toby Mac
He's
is
still
definitely
doing
rocking,
concerts.
and
I think he comes to Minnesota this year.
and the other guy who he was touring with.
Yes, King and Country.
King
I
and
don't know,
Country.
but
He was with Newsboys for a while, and then yeah. So they're still. I mean,
So
pursuing.
only
that book
one of
was
them
amazing.
fell. Only one of them. Okay.
Well, I mean, but they did go there. They're not a
They
band
are-
anymore.
right,
They're not
right,
DC
sure.
Talk.
I mean,
Jesus
they haven't
freaks.
been DC Talk for 20 years.
Okay. Well, second news segment and last, New Jersey, and I'm just going to kind of sum this one up, is the first state to mandate students learn how to spot internet misinformation and political conspiracy theories.
Well, I have something
Okay,
to
I
say
know
when you're
this
done with
law
this.
isn't about teaching kids they're just, okay, can I just tell you what this is?
See something, say something.
You guys,
they're brainwashing
Yeah. It's
the public school kids.
Sounds like Hitler
against
Youth.
things like this podcast.
Yeah.
Things like Charlie Kirk, Jimmy Evans.
Yeah.
Right. Russell Brand.
Which is
But
hilarious
Yeah, that
considering
Russell
Russell
Brand.
Brand is no conservative.
No, and he says that.
Yeah.
But can I say something? We scoff at that, but let me tell you,
No.
my mom sent me this.
The Hitler
not
Youth.
scoff, but
the
listen.
Hitler Youth was doing that.
Listen,
Yes.
this is coming to Minnesota. The Federalist.com wrote today, January 12th, Minnesota is poised to ban Christians, Muslim, and Jews from teaching in public schools. New licensing rules in Minnesota that require teachers to affirm students' transgender identities will meet immediate court challenges from civil liberties advocates. So they're basically saying if you don't agree and welcome everybody in all affirming situations in life, you will be banned from teaching in schools. So that
Well, it's not about even welcoming. Fine.
No.
We welcome.
Anyone.
But you need to affirm
But,
them. You
but
can't
no,
just
we have to
welcome
agree.
them. You have to affirm them.
Somehow, if we agree, it helps their situation.
cause.
If we openly
It's
agree.
just such the language. I mean, we've talked about this recently. Is just the language that is being weaponized as far as stuff like affirm. You have to affirm. You can't just do the hey. You can do whatever you want to do. This is
You can't say you don't agree.
Yeah.
Well,
no longer
this
can you just
licensing-
disagree. You have to affirm.
But listen, this is their words
What a
now,
joke.
and they're talking about podcasts like this. Like I said, all those other podcasts that I mentioned, our democracy remains under sustained attack
Yeah.
through the proliferation of disinformation that is eroding the role of truth in our political and civil discourse. And so
They're going to teach kids courses on how to
combat
find
us, how to stop
misinformation.
us. Yes, how to. And so,
The great thing with this, though, is it can really easily be combated. This kind of ideology is just being able to teach kids to think. To teach things.
But they're taking away thinking because they're saying we don't agree with that.
But that's never going to take. I mean, that will open up a rebellion in the youth of this kind of ideology coming from the top is going to.
They could overplay their hand. That's a great
that's what
point,
I'm
John.
saying.
But can I tell you, I have a lot of friends on both sides of the spectrum, and there are so many who are so intelligent.
Yeah.
I mean, they go to like the top universities and they get fed this information.
Yep.
They believe it. They wouldn't come to our house for Christmas because we didn't agree with
They're
things.
so smart they can't come out of the rain.
Yes.
Those kind of people that are so
Yes.
smart they don't know how to come out of
And
the
you're
rain.
just like, yeah, I don't. So yes, I do agree with that. But
Yeah.
also I've seen people who are like,
I didn't know who people refused to come to your house.
this was like when COVID happened,
Okay.
2019
I mean, Lonaiah's never invited my family to her house either. So
on Christmas.
I think I was there for an Israel tour party.
Yes.
Oh yes, we will. We are working on those dates. Gosh, we have almost a whole bus full of people signed
you
up already.
serious?
And we are,
Well, yes,
we're
they
dealing
want
with,
information on
well, you saw him, Ronnie Levy.
yeah.
He runs a tour company, and it's, it just takes time, and we're going to get these dates for you. Once we get the dates, we really are off and
We
running.
just emailed him a few days ago and
Yes,
tried
we
to
did.
nail it down.
And let's matter of fact, let's call him when we get back to the office.
We will
Let's-
have an answer for
Let's
you
call
soon,
and
people.
let's
Let's
call him.
demand.
Even though it's 7 a.m. over there, let's call him.
It is? I thought
No,
they're ahead
it's
of us.
7 at night. And so listen to this. It's not a hidden fact. You've probably seen this on regular news that Al Qaeda plans a plane attack using new techniques and tactics. And so that's pretty. Our intelligence have found that. I don't know if Al Qaeda announced that. That's common knowledge. But I don't know if you know this, the nation's federal air marshals are busy on the Mexican border providing illegal immigrants with welfare checks, transportation, and other basic services.
Of course.
100 to 52 to 200 federal air marshals monthly get sent to the southern border
Wow.
to help with what is called a surge of irregular immigration. These are trained aviation security specialists, right? They were created after 9/11 to prevent another terrorist attack. And these air marshals are charged with protecting commercial passenger flights by deterring and countering the risk of terrorist activity. Highly trained for this, all right?
Interesting.
And Biden administration has them down on the border sectors to help with hospital watch, transportation, security, and welfare checks at migrant facilities. And go ahead.
Do you think that this has anything to do with the FAA grounding all flights because somebody hacked into the system so they wouldn't let any flights take place in the United States? Like this is just kind of like weird, oddly connected and with our timing of all this.
I think it's definitely possible. There's a whole lot of information that's not in the news as far as what was going on Monday morning.
Right. All domestic flights in the U.S. have been grounded after the failure of a key computer system.
Right.
Where's isn't that guy's name Buttigieg or something?
Buttigieg?
But yeah, him.
Oh, him?
But like,
Didn't
where
he run
is
for president?
Booty?
I don't know if he's.
Is he out of Texas?
He was.
He was running for the nomination.
He was from Cincinnati, or he was from Buttigieg.
But I'm gonna say we have had
Nope.
nothing but like horrible transportation, like things happening under him. But you have this and that, then you have all the planes grounded. Like,
I mean, it
doesn't that concern anybody?
What a terrible waste of resources to take highly trained agents, like keep your transportation safe. To then put them to something that can be done.
But is it planned?
Listen,
you could definitely speculate.
All right.
well, the air marshals are fighting back. Okay,
Good.
They represent the National Council represents thousands of these air marshals. Accused TSA Administrator David Pekoski and FAM Director Terrell Stevenson of violating federal law and overstepping their authority by assigning air marshals to assist the U.S. Border Patrol. And so they're sending air marshals to El Paso, Texas, San Diego, California, Laredo, Texas, McAllen, Texas, Tucson, Arizona, Yuma, Arizona, to transport illegal immigrants and conduct welfare checks. And
sounds like
and this has no relation to TSA's core mission.
Yeah.
Sonia Hightower Labasco, a retired air marshal who serves as executive director of the Air Marshal National Council, confirmed that air marshals are still being pulled off flights at a rate of $200 a month to serve illegal immigrants at stations along the Mexican border. This is what she says. They're making sandwiches for the illegal immigrants.
I believe it.
They're driving them around like Uber and picking up supplies. And so...
what a waste of resources.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Oh, and
Right. Thanks, Joe. They're sending the air marshals to protect Americans in the skies, right?
Oh, they're making peanut butter and
And
jelly
they're making sandwiches. They're making sandwiches down on the border.
Al Qaeda. What?
Nothing.
I'm just going to let that be. I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah.
I got a lot to say.
I'm guessing we might.
No, I don't want to.
Go ahead.
No.
Could it?
Could be
Could it?
controversial.
Could it?
I don't know. I'm going to stick to the script.
You are funny, Lonaiah.
Thank you so much.
At least above average funny. Definitely. Well, I was just going to say this FAA thing. I think we'll probably know a lot more information.
We will.
Can I just read something that I sent to John this
I feel like the
morning?
Holy Spirit told me that.
Yeah.
As we're reading it, it'll come out.
It'll
come out.
Yeah.
Guess what? On July 8th of 2020, Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum
Klaus
guru,
Schwab
said a
Satanist.
comprehensive cyber attack could bring a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, our society as a whole. COVID-19 would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance. That's what he says. So be prepared, people, for things like this to continue happening.
They're telling you. They're not even hiding it.
They telegraph everything.
They do.
They're putting the plan out right in front of you.
Like, because you guys, the guy, the Peter Buttigieg guy, he's a transportation secretary. He's presided over a supply chain crisis, a railroad strike crisis, a holiday travel crisis, and a day when every plane in America was grounded. And we don't have, and all Joe Biden said was, do you have anything? And he's like, no, not yet. He's like, make sure you report to me when you have an answer for this. That's all he said. Like why isn't he fired?
What a staged conversation.
I know. And like, that's what you put out. And it's funny. Yeah, but like, why isn't he fired? Why does he still have his job? Because he's a diverse person with a diverse role and a LGBTQ tagged next to him. So they don't want to fire him.
Yep.
That's good.
He's from,
I'm just saying.
Keep going.
He was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana.
Seriously. But didn't he run for the Republican nomination for
Democratic
president? Or Democrat? Yes.
Yeah, Buttigieg. He was.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah.
Yes. And listen, okay, where we left off on the teaching here is, remember, Antipas, Antipas. We were talking about his martyrdom that Jesus referred to. So this was a real guy, because Jesus is referring to him personally.
Yeah.
And, Jesus did have an issue in this. He's writing to this church, and this is what we pay attention to. Revelation 2:14 through 16. But I have a few things against thee. Think of this.
But
does your church fit into this? This is what you need to do. Because thou hast there them that hold a doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed to idols, and to commit fornication. So hast thou also them that hold the doctrine of Nicolaitans.
Ooh, we talked about them.
Which thing I hate. He didn't say he hated them, but he hates their doctrine. This is Jesus here. And so repent. He says, change your mind, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and I will fight against them with the sword of my mouth. What this is saying is there were spiritual leaders in the church, just like there are now.
Yeah.
Just like there are now, who were trying to turn, I'm not talking about this church, I'm talking about the body of Christ worldwide, who are trying to turn the direction of the church to where they would compromise. Just agree. Just be agreeable. Sound familiar?
Right.
We just need you to agree. Weren't we just saying that word?
Yeah.
So really the pagans would just leave them alone.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be persecuted.
Right.
Because remember, they're being fried in a bowl.
Yeah.
So sad.
They're being eaten by animals.
But doesn't it look at, like you said that Jesus said he'll fight against them with the sword of his mouth?
Yes.
So doesn't that explain to you why everybody cares so much about the misinformation that you are saying?
Yeah. The words that you're saying.
Yes. If our mouth is a sword and he can say something, that shows you
Isaiah
why
said,
they want to shut it down.
Isaiah 49:2.
Sharp, Lonaiah.
You have made my mouth like a sharp sword, is what it says.
Yeah.
Then it says, in the shadow of your hand have you hidden me. You have made me like a polished arrow, and in your quiver you have hidden and concealed me. He's calling you an arrow. Isaiah's calling himself, he's saying, God made me a really nice arrow.
Yeah.
I'm in his quiver, hidden and concealed, and he's going to shoot me at the right time. Really, he's calling you two weapons right there.
Right.
Your mouth is a sword,
a
sharp sword, and you yourself, that's Isaiah 49:2, are an arrow. Okay? If you look at different translations, it says shaft, it means arrow. Shaft means arrow. And really, it's no different in a sense where things are going today. If you look at free speech, what's happening here and what this church is talking about doing, right? On social media, I would call free speech basically gone.
And depend on where you're at.
It's still limited,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, you can say it, but you get attacked.
Sure.
Right? You get completely attacked. And even though this church was standing up to evil persecution, there was something that was forming on this church from the inside. Jesus calls it a doctrine of Balaam. A lot of us know that story. Just to kind of sum up the whole thing, Balaam in the Old Testament literally taught that King Balak how to form a stumbling block for the Hebrews who were traveling peacefully through his country.
Yep.
Balaam told the Moab king to bring a bunch of beautiful women and set them up around the Israelites' camp.
Yeah.
Expose probably the younger, who knows, maybe all the Israelite men to these women. They're probably scantily dressed.
Yeah.
If they didn't have any clothes on, going through their pagan rituals, which a lot of those rituals, a lot of their worship had to do with sex.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of their temple worship. And they would just be there right outside the camp day after day after day.
Yep.
And in the end, you'd have the Hebrew men falling for them. And then from there, they would take up these women's gods. They would marry these women. They'd have children with these women. Then they start worshiping the idols of these women.
It reminds me a bit of, we were talking about this recently, some of the, was it communist strategy for overtaking, was it communist or from China? I don't remember which one it is. Strategy to the downfall of America was to sexualize.
It's one of them, yeah.
Sexualize the American youth so that they are distracted. They're completely distracted, and they won't have the same strength that they would otherwise. And that sounds like the same stumbling block that Balaam set for the Jews.
And I think Jesus telling Pergamos, even though he said, "You're holding fast to my name,"
right?
I don't think they were all running around in fornication, but I think Satan employs tactics, starting with a small compromises. To lure us away from the easy, simple faith, and to lure us away from the cross and the resurrection. And I think that's strongly hinted. So I think that this is an attack from the inside of the church, where you had powerful deacons, maybe assistants to that bishop in charge. What was behind that attack was doctrinal error. And just going over, if you get into verse 16, he says, "If you don't repent, I'm coming quickly, and I will fight against them with the sword of my mouth." If you're looking at all in the Greek context, Jesus is saying, if you don't change your mind, if you don't change your focus, I will deal with you and I will subjugate you. All right? And remember, Jesus gives himself the title in verse 12, "He that hath the sharp sword with two edges." Okay? That's how he starts out this letter. I am he that has a sharp sword with two edges.
Yeah.
I love him.
And just to point out, the book of Revelation is called a revelation of Jesus Christ. And if you read it carefully, it really is. It really is. And just to point out, Balaam, Numbers 22:7 calls him a diviner. He was not a prophet. He was a diviner. He's defined as a witch or a medium.
Yeah.
Pergamos was compromising as a church. They were starting to compromise in their messages, probably to try to get members to compromise. Why? To take off the political, religious, cultural pressure from the Romans, the Roman proconsul, even the Jews we've read in other cities were pressuring. And I guess the question we need to ask ourselves in this day and age is, are we accepting the cultural norm?
Yep.
Are we accepting the cultural norms if culture is going to tell us something is normal,
right?
i.e. transgenderism? And don't get us wrong. If you want to do that with your body, feel free. I have no condemnation,
right?
No judgment from you, right? I wouldn't. You would be welcome in my church services,
absolutely,
right?
No doubt about it.
But you're never gonna tell me that I have to agree, all right? So my question is: do we just accept that? Do we just accept he, him, it, they, them, she, her, and just go with it? So really, Pergamos is about compromise, the church compromising while under heavy persecution. Revelation 2:17. This, as we end this particular letter. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of hidden manna. I will give him a white stone, and in the stone a new name written.
What is the name?
Which no man knoweth saving.
Oh, that's the stone thing.
To him that overcometh, Lonaiah was texting, so I was...
Because we have a meeting.
To him that overcometh will I give to eat of hidden manna, and I will give him a white stone, and in the stone a new name. He's going to give you a new name, written, which no man knoweth, saving he that receiveth. Overcomer, hidden manna, what's that mean? It's a reference to Jesus. Jesus is described as the true bread of life as we close down today. White stone, no one knows for sure what that is. One point, just so for you guys that missed, so you don't have to rewind. To him that overcometh, I will give hidden manna, I will give him a white stone. Jesus saying, if you can overcome, I'm going to give you a white stone. One point on this, commentators believe Romans gave their citizens a white stone with their name on it, which gave them free food and grain on a daily basis and a free ticket into the Colosseum.
Oh.
Another opinion, custom for voting for the guilt or innocence of someone who is involved in a court case. Jury members were given a white stone and a black stone. The white stone signified justification. All right, that's another. No one knows. These are just these are opinions from different scholars. The phrase "a new name written, which no man knows," says he who receives it says that in the stone there will be a new name written on it, and this is all conjecture. No one knows for sure. We're going to have to find out when we do.
So we'll all get new names in heaven.
Right. What this is indicating is individual character will be emphasized in heaven, and that personality will be in heaven. And that the fact that it's saying only he who receives the name shall know it. This is conjecture. But I just see scholars out there that believe each saint will have his own name in heaven, just between you and Jesus.
Is that why Jesus gave all the disciples new names?
I knew we had you here for a reason.
Yeah,
right. That's a good point.
All right.
You have really great points.
She's on fire today.
Yes. Listen, God shining forth through this humanity up there in the complete fullness and beauty coming from Jesus Christ into everyone up there, each personality only knowing his or her own name, kind of like a special thing that you would have with Jesus.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
But it's also saying that each particular man of God or woman of God will manifest their own special shade of God's image or picture of God's image. This is all conjecture.
I like
right?
it.
It's opinions.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you opinions of many, many different scholars. And so...
it's cool, though. I like it.
Yes, we are right under 1 hour. And so I enjoyed today. Today. I felt like today was smooth.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
John,
you
Lonaiah.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
JD. And, we will never stop this. We will never stop this.
Can't stop, won't stop.
And I will not quit. No
Thank
matter
you,
what.
Jim.
If you don't quit, you win.
That's from Pastor Mac
Isn't
Hammond.
there a sweatshirt that says that?
I
somewhere?
think there's
gonna
some
be.
LW merch, Living Word
that's
Christian
right.
Center merch.
All right. But listen, thank you guys. Please subscribe. God bless you. And just to let you know, even this morning, what did I do for our viewers, listeners, and subscribers? I took authority. I took authority for different areas of your life because you have the power to do that. I plead the blood of Jesus Christ over you every single day. I surround you with the favor of God as with a shield every day because you're the righteousness of God in Jesus Christ. That's Psalm 5:12. God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning into the Final Hour podcast.